Hey everybody, I'm John.
And I'm Natalie, and we are American Tifosi. On this podcast, we talk about everything Formula One, drama on the track, drama off the track. We're talking about it all here today. And today, we are previewing the British Grand Prix.
That's right. We are starting a little bit late, so happy 4th of July to all of you out there. Um, Natalie, what are you most excited for the British Grand Prix?
I'm most excited for the Lewis Hamilton redemption arc that I hope to see at this race this weekend. He needs it bad. He needs it desperately for himself, for all of his fans, for Ferrari. So I really hope to see that happen. What about you?
I'm just most excited because this is my very favorite race. I was sentimentally, I like Monza because you and I were there. But this is my favorite racetrack. This is kind of this is the birthplace of Formula One. It's got so much history and so much lineage, and we've talked in previous podcasts about why it's cool that corners are named, and every single corner is named, and they all have a cool story. Um, but let me tell you, I'm here for your most exciting or what you're most looking forward to,
Hmm.
because if Lewis does well, as he did in FP1 today,
Right.
um, this is going to bode well for our Ferrari and
Yes.
the Tifosi at large. Let's talk about the racetrack. What
Okay.
do you like this track? I mean, I've already
Yes.
said I do. Yeah,
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 it's a nice track. Very iconic. When I think of Formula One, I think of Silverstone and I think of Monza and I think of Monaco. So very excited for this race. It's a big one of the biggest of the year.
yeah. It's you could say that it's in fact Lando Norris in the Thursday warm-ups was talking about how this is the most important race to him,
Hmm.
which is makes sense. I mean, there's four British drivers that call this their home race.
Yeah.
I think this is Ollie Behrman's first time at this track, at least in
Hmm.
Formula One.
Hmm.
And then of course we've got Lewis, who's won the most times,
Yes.
and he won last year, but it was like a epic, heartwarming moment when he won it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, but it was like it was awesome to see him get that win,
Hmm.
and then Lando, who's never won here, and George Russell, of course. So
Right.
yeah, as I mentioned, every corner's got its own turn, I'm sorry, every corner's got its own name, and I just
Hmm.
think that that's really cool. There's two DRS zones. It's massive, like you said. I think
Hmm.
there's is it 50 laps? Is that right? Yeah, I think it's. I'll get back to that. I think it's 50 laps, and that makes it a big track when you consider
Yeah.
just last week at Austria there were 71 laps.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, I already said there's only two DRS zones, but like we talked
Hmm.
about last week with Austria, where there's three big straights going uphill with three DRS
Yep.
zones, followed by the technical port. It's kind of the
Right.
opposite
Hmm.
at Silverstone, where you have most of the passing zones towards the end of the tracks from like
Yeah.
turns 9 through 14, and that's
Hmm.
if I ever get to go to
Yeah.
Silverstone, which is a bucket list. That's where I'd want to sit is at turn 9, Cops.
Hmm.
Which funny story is, if you look at the grid map, it looks like it says corpse,
Hmm.
and it's called Cops, which is a stand of trees that it
Hmm.
leads to maggots, which is
Right.
weird too. But all of them have a cool name. And then you've got like the hangar straight, because of course this is based on Royal Air Force Silverstone's base. This is where it was in World War
Hmm.
II. This was a bomber plane base
Hmm.
to help fight off. Uh, and they've still got hangar straight, and now
Yep.
the newest straight is called Hamilton Straight, which is during the
Yes.
start finish line. Um, I think it's the smallest straight, and it's on the start finish line. But when you start the race into lap one, turn one, all the shenanigans we always talk about
Hmm.
it's not really known for lap
Hmm.
one, turn one hijinks, although um, at least as long as I have been a fan, this is where one of the most significant crashes I can remember. Because if you remember a couple of years ago, Joe Guan Yu was upside down,
Yeah.
pinned,
Right.
and that was after lap one, turn one, and he went off.
Hmm.
He missed that turn and then went into the runoff, and the gravel caught his tires and it caused him to flip, and it was crazy and scary. So Yeah, I'm just so excited for all of it. We do have a little bit of rain in the forecast, and
Of course, we do.
yeah,
Can't be
um,
Silverstone without it.
true. That's true. It seems like that's always, and I understand the entire UK has gone through like this massive heat wave, so it's kind of weird
Hmm.
that during Formula One weekend they get this
Right.
potential for rain. And you and I were talking, I think, last week, but I had built a little list. Lewis, Max, Fernando, and George Russell all seem to be the best in inclement
Yeah.
conditions.
Hmm.
Charlotte is good,
Yeah.
but Charles has to not just be good; he has to be amazing because his team is probably going to
Right.
screw the wet weather strategy up.
They're probably gonna mess up the tires or something. And it's
Yeah.
not hard to do so when it's raining, but I'm sure Ferrari will.
So you
I
know
think,
what?
yeah, yeah.
I actually just had a thought about this that I think I kind of hope it rains because
Hmm.
maybe this helps Lewis find his voice in Ferrari because
Mm,
he can say something like, "Hey guys, stop with this stupid strategy. I know what I'm
yeah,
doing. I'm the rain
right.
master." You
Yeah.
know,
The
and
ringmaster who's won the most races at this track as well.
yeah, true. Yeah, and I think yes, and he's won the most races at this track, which is more than any driver's won at any track ever. I think last year
Hmm.
he broke Schumacher's record for wherever that was.
Hmm.
So yeah, um, and we can never count out Max Verstappen, and
Yep.
he's great in the wet. He's also got the track record here, so it would be naive to say that it's just a Lewis Hamilton Ferrari McLaren show.
Right. Hmm.
But
Absolutely, I
also,
agree.
we well know now that Mercedes does not do well in hot weather and they do well in
Hmm.
cool weather, and that's been true for 2 or 3 years. And
Hmm.
so with rain comes colder weather, and so maybe we see Mercedes jump up at here as well.
Yeah,
Who
absolutely.
knows?
We'll go over the predictions shortly, but I I was I was debating over who I should put up there. Like you said, Max is great in the rain. Um, Lewis is, of course, going to perform well himself. We don't know how his car is going to do. And like you said, with the Mercedes, the car is going to perform well. Um, but again, it's just hard with those McLarens dominating this year.
Yeah. And then actually, speaking of McLaren, before I forget, did you see their new livery?
Yes, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. You
It's
know,
one of my favorites that I've ever seen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I I think I've said this before on the pod. I'm certain I've said it to you. I love how McLaren, who's one of their title sponsors, is Google Chrome, and
Hmm.
so they make their tires look like the Chrome emblem, and they
Hmm.
kind of just leaned into that with the Google Chrome, and it's a
Right.
Chrome look.
Yeah.
Um,
Chrome is
I
really interesting for a car. I don't think I've ever seen that on a Formula One car. Maybe it's happened, but I really like that. I was kind of wondering, is this allowed with the could it blind some other drivers? I don't know. Luckily they're in Silverstone, so hopefully it won't be too sunny. But it kind of reminded me of Lando Norris's Miami helmet with the disco
When it
ball.
was
That
all Chrome. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
But no,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's beautiful. This one of my favorite liveries I've seen.
yeah. I don't disagree with you. I don't know that I would like it if it was their full-time livery.
Yeah, it's too
I,
much. Too much for
yeah,
that.
I think that it's just like hey, it's Silverstone. This is a big race. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome, and
Hmm.
I really really like it. And you don't see McLaren like deviate too much, even when they did
Right.
their alternate livery for Monaco. It
Hmm.
you had to do almost a side by side to notice the difference.
Right. Absolutely.
So one other thing that I want to say that in the interest of kind of being objective is that Lance Stroll seems to do well here.
Okay.
I think he got seventh here last year, which is
Okay, that's
also the
good for
last.
him.
Yeah, it's also the last time he's ever outfinished his teammate when his teammates finished. So it's
Hmm.
been, and it might have been 2 years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but yeah, he's done well here, and that kind of brings me to the point of we should probably address the elephant in the room that is all the chatter with Max leaving Red Bull.
Yes. Let's talk about it. Um, I don't like these rumors going around. I think that Max needs to stay at Red Bull because Red Bull's not doing great and Max isn't doing great, and I'm happy to see that. And I don't want him to go to Mercedes because that means George Russell is leaving. George Russell is the number one driver for Mercedes right now. You can't kick out Lewis Hamilton. He left. He didn't get kicked out. You can't lose Lewis Hamilton and then lose George Russell. Come on. For Max, I
Yeah.
get it, but I don't get it. Mercedes and Red Bull have been fighting for years, and you're just gonna take in Max Verstappen like that after he fought your two best team members? No, I think
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. I understand it. I get it. They want a good driver. They have good drivers already, though.
Well, let me also just say that I totally agree with you. I don't want it to happen. Um, and the thing that we talked about last pod or not too long ago when we were talking about maybe Max leaving, something that we didn't consider, like so you have Kimi Antonelli who looks like a generational talent,
Yeah,
right? And you've got George Russell who's an established top five driver on the grid.
right.
Um, don't necessarily know what he would do if he was not in a great car. We
Hmm.
see what he's done when Mercedes hasn't done well, and that's just been kind of average.
Yeah.
But like we have said about Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes, and how you were sad that Carlos left Ferrari.
Hmm.
If Max Verstappen knocks on your door, you let the guy in.
I know.
There,
I
there's not
know.
there's not there's not one single maybe McLaren.
You think Ferrari would take Max?
I think they'd have to. He's the best driver. You and I have agreed on this. A million people smarter than both of us agree on that
Hmm.
he is the best driver on the grid. Why would you
Yeah.
not want him?
Yeah.
And so the latest rumor has him tied to Mercedes, of course, and
Hmm.
and I think you're right to point out that George Russell would be the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Um, Kimi Antonelli's got more years left in him than George Russell
Hmm.
does, and George Russell doesn't have a contract
Right.
now. If we take that a step further, where does he go? And the weirdest report that I saw was that maybe he goes to Aston Martin. And so the reason I kind of segued from Lance Stroll doing well here at Silverstone is I don't want Lance Stroll. I want Lance Stroll to be fired. Uh,
Don't we all? I think Lance
and
Stroll wants to be fired.
but we know that his daddy will probably never fire him.
Right.
And so I kind of want him just to realize that, hey, for the good of the team and the good of my family's business, I should maybe step down and be the reserve driver because
Right.
George Russell's available.
Yeah.
What I really don't want to see is George Russell goes to Aston Martin and now Fernando Alonso loses his seat.
Absolutely. That would be awful. Is it time for him to go? Maybe, but he's still a
But he's
very
the better
solid
driver.
driver.
He's
He
the
is.
better driver, and
He is
he's
a
better
better
than
driver.
most of the drivers on the grid.
Absolutely, especially in that weather condition.
Yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you're right. For the good of the business, Lance Stroll should step down and let George Russell come in because clearly George is a better driver than Lance. We all know it. I don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah. Before we started our podcast, you and I were talking, and so I'm just going to vocalize this and put it out there. But I actually think next year, Aston Martin is going to be very good with Adrian Newey joining their team. So what I don't want to see is Fernando losing his seat when he has a chance to be in a good car. We already know
Right.
he's a good driver and he can do
Yeah.
really, really well with kind of a crappy car. So
Hmm.
it'd be awesome in my race. I mean, I know what Fernando Alonso's done, but I wasn't a fan of Formula One. And I would love to see Fernando at the top of the grid,
Yeah.
um, just doing Fernando things in a
One
really good
last
car.
time.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it'd be awesome.
absolutely.
Um, so hopefully Lance doesn't do well here, and I'm not wishing ill will on him, but if all these rumors are true, and they're definitely gaining traction, the Max leading Red
Hmm.
Bull and stuff. So I don't know. All right. Well, we mentioned that we've already Formula One and Formula, or I'm sorry, free practice one and two have already happened, and so
Yes.
um, any notable things you wanted to talk about there?
Mm, no. Let's talk about
No.
Yuki.
Yeah. Yuki got benched, which is not uncommon, right? They have to,
Right.
every team's got to let rookie drivers go. And sometimes Aston Martin has been guilty of this a lot, where they always put Felipe Drogovic in to to
Mm-hmm.
to satisfy the quota that is required by
Right.
Formula One.
Yes.
But Felipe Drogovic is older. He's probably never
Yeah.
going to get a drive.
Right.
They just know that he's not going to ruin a car during
Yeah.
practice.
Mm-hmm.
So Yuki got benched, which maybe is alarming when you consider that you could have benched Max Verstappen, who has the track
Right.
record here,
Mm-hmm.
to satisfy one of the quotas that Red Bull needed to do.
Right.
But they also put in Arvid Limbald, who's the guy they just like rapidly tried to get a super license for. So
Right.
I wonder if they're trying to, make room on the Red Bull teams. Teams,
Mm-hmm.
this is a plural,
Mm-hmm.
to get this guy on there because he's
Yep.
similar to Kimmy. I think he's 17.
Mm-hmm.
They got an exception for or exemption for him to get a super license and all sorts of stuff. So I think that's crazy. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I hope that my dream fantasy would be Max Verstappen is gone from Red Bull next year. We've got Yuki and Isaac in the Red Bull seats, and the Red Bull seats fit them, and the car is built for
The
them.
car works for them.
That would be
Yeah.
great. And then maybe put Arvid and Liam Lawson on in RB. That'd be
Okay.
fine with me. Fine with me as long as Max Verstappen doesn't get a seat at Mercedes.
Uh, well, I
But
think
I
you.
think I think if we're looking at it realistically, and he has to leave Red Bull, I think Mercedes is the best choice. He's not going to do well in Ferrari. You can't have him and Leclerc on the same team. McLaren's not going to give him a seat. So I think the only option is
Yeah,
Mercedes if he's
Max isn't going
leaving.
to go. He isn't going to go to any other. I think it would only really be Aston Martin or Mercedes.
Yeah,
I think those would be the only spots
agreed.
because you're right. I think McLaren would be the only team that doesn't listen if you knock on the door,
Hmm.
just because they have
Yep,
two fantastic drivers.
right. Who work
Um,
well for the most part.
and yeah, correct. And that's the other thing is we kind of glossed over it, but if he goes to Mercedes, one other reason that it's obvious that George Russell is out is the two of them can't get along.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. And I've seen Max and Kimi do get along. I think another problem specifically with Max Verstappen as a teammate is that he's not a good teammate. So
no,
you need to pair him with someone who's going to back off, which
yeah,
would be Kimi Antonelli, because
right.
there's only room for one number one driver if you have Max Verstappen on your team.
True.
So you need to find somebody who's gonna, I hate to say it, but like submit to Max Verstappen and not fight with him.
The only thing is that I hope if it does happen, and this might be 20 minutes of crap that didn't matter because it might not
Right.
have happened, but I hope that the whatever team he ends up on, even next year if he stays at Red Bull, I hope
Hmm.
that they say, Max, yeah, fine, you're our number one driver, but we're not building a car explicitly for you.
Not after he didn't win this championship.
But I mean, and well, true. And yes, the drivers' championship matters more than the constructors' championship, but they're never going to win a constructors if
Right.
they always and only build one car for one person,
Right.
So
And that's why if he doesn't win this championship, which he won't, then there's no excuse to have the car be built around him. I understand for the past couple of years he's
it's
been
a good
winning
point.
for Red Bull, so I understand like sure, if he's going to win the constructors for them and he's going to win the championship for himself, I understand why they build the car around him, but if he's not winning his championship and he's not helping win the constructors, they need to
Yeah,
fix the car.
that's a really good point, Emily. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention about practice was that Andy Cowell, the team principal for Aston Martin, did say that
Hmm.
they are not shipping any more upgrades to
Okay.
Aston Martin's cars this year. He said that in a little interview during FP2, and I thought that was telling. We've joked mostly me have predicted wrongly, I might add, that
Yeah.
it's time for teams to mail it in. But here
Yeah.
you have Andy Cowell, the team principal, basically saying yes, we are mailing it in
Yeah.
after this race. So I guess they added some more upgrades, or they equalized the upgrades between the two Aston Martin cars.
Hmm.
Um, and I wonder if maybe. if I remember correctly, I thought Fernando Alonso had upgrades and Lance Stroll didn't, and now Lance
Hmm.
Stroll finished practice ahead of Fernando Alonso, so maybe he
Hmm.
did get those
Yeah.
upgrades. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
Lance Stroll finished ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just super excited for the race. I hope what you're talking about with Lewis comes true. Um,
Me
I hope
too.
we I hope we see a good race. I hope I don't know. I love the track. So I just hope that it's not a snooze fest.
Hmm. I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
get into predictions.
let's do it. Who do you have on pole?
On pole, I've got Oscar.
Oscar.
But I originally wrote in Max because of his good driving skills in the wet. And I of course I wanted to put Lewis. I don't think that's gonna happen. He's in a Ferrari. But for me it was between Max and Oscar. I went Oscar on this one.
So okay, that's I think that's completely fair. I went with Lando, partly because we've already seen practice one and practice two, and I know he did pretty well in practice two. Um, there's a huge part of me that wants to pick. So if we go back to the very first race of the year,
Mm,
uh, Lando beat Oscar.
hmm.
If you remember, Oscar spun himself out. Lando
Right.
won. I think Oscar got six or something like that,
Hmm.
but kind of rained on, no pun intended, rained on Oscar's parade because that was
Yeah.
Oscar's home race in
Right.
Australia. So
Yeah.
a part of me wonders, like, how bad does Oscar want to win just to
Mm,
steal some thunder?
yeah.
But we also know just from Lando's comments in the lead up to this week that like this is his most important race. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Lando.
All right.
I
That's
don't
nice
think
of you.
I don't think either one of us are wrong though. I mean, I think they're
Yeah.
both good picks. All right, for the podium, I have Lando winning. Uh,
Hmm.
I got Lewis in second,
Okay. Okay.
with Oscar behind him, and so I
What's
have
your vision
Lando.
here?
This is my vision is a combination of what you said. You want Lewis to do well,
Hmm.
and I have already said I'm contradicting myself because I have said that I think Oscar's a better driver than Lando.
Hmm.
But we saw last week where Oscar um, in turn four, he locked up
Yeah.
and kind of
Yeah.
screwed up. This time, I think the race might be close enough that Oscar locks up trying to pass Lando, and that allows Lewis through.
That's a beautiful vision. I'd like to
And then
see that.
I have
But
Charles in
first,
fourth. Not
okay.
I have Charles in fourth. I think the Ferraris are going to finish.
I also have Charles in fourth.
Yeah, good. Well
But
then,
then where do you put Max Verstappen and George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, who are also going to perform well?
I well
Five, six, seven?
because
I
maybe
don't know. I don't know.
yeah. I Some of these predictions are more based on hope.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Who do you
Yeah, I
have for the
think
podium?
I
So I had
have
Lando Lewis Oscar.
I got Oscar Lando Lewis.
Oh,
And guys, we do not coordinate these before. We just write them down, and they happen to be very similar.
true.
I have Oscar first because Oscar's a better driver than Lando. I have Lando second because he's in a McLaren, and I have Lewis third because I really want him to be on the podium. He's not going to get a race win unless everybody else crashes. Maybe Oscar and Lando will crash. And honestly, I'd be happier with Lewis winning and them crashing this one race than what I've put down as my podium. Um, I'm really conflicted about the Mercedes and Max Verstappen though because they're going to perform well. I don't feel comfortable putting them first, second, or third. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like they could surprise us here.
you're making me want to switch and something else, and I'll probably say this in my closing remarks. But yeah, I really want Lewis to do well.
Yep.
He needs it for us as Ferrari fans and us as
Hmm.
the American Tifosi. He needs it
Hmm.
for his own psyche,
Right.
um, and he's done really well here. So
Yep.
I mean, I have him in second. So I guess I hope my predictions are just because that has him doing even better. But um, one thing that I had thought of when you were talking is, man, how crazy would it be if the McLarens didn't finish on the podium?
That's sort of how I'm feeling. I
I
don't know.
mean,
I don't I mean, of course their car is great and they're both great drivers, but if it does rain, I don't feel like they might not podium. And I feel
yeah,
like we might see a Mercedes and Lewis podium. But I'm locking in Oscar Lando Lewis, but
I, and
something deep down.
we
It's
should
like
say
if we
that.
went horse racing, I'm gonna make separate bets, and my bet is Oscar Lando Lewis or George Lewis Kinney.
So you have two different trifecta boxes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Bold prediction. I have Isaac Hadjar as the best rookie. So
Okay.
um,
Well, that goes against my trifecta box, but no worries.
that's well, and I mean Liam's been doing better than him the last two races for just
Hmm.
for VCARB, which Liam qualifies as a rookie. That I don't think Alpine's going to do well here, so that rules out
Right.
um, Colapinto, and then we have Ollie Behrman, who I want him to do well, but
Will he?
Um, yeah, he's and so and then we have Kimmy. So the bold prediction would be is that Isaac is basically just beating Kimmy, which
Right.
the as the forecast gets worse and worse, I like my prediction less and less. But so
Yeah.
I got Isaac. Isaac is the best rookie. Who do you have for your bold prediction?
I've got, I know I said I would stop doing this, but they really need it. I'm putting Carlos in the top 10.
Oh,
Uh, they've not been performing well. It's been really disappointing. Pretty sure they dropped a new Carlos Sainz helmet though for this weekend, so maybe that'll give him a little extra luck. Probably it won't, but I'm
well, I
I'm
would
just
love to
hoping.
happen. I mean, they're my second favorite team, so I would love for any of that to happen. Hell, I'd love Alex Albon just to finish a race for a change.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and thought, wouldn't it be great if Carlos Sainz got third this weekend? I know that won't happen, but it's possible. Pierre Gasly has done it from his bad cars, so I don't
True.
know.
Well, Carlos is one
I'm gonna
here.
I'm gonna go top 10, but I'd
I'll
like to
take
say
it.
top three.
Well, that would be a super bold prediction. That'd be like a five
Right?
pointer.
That's extra points. Yeah.
All right, you got any final thoughts?
No, I hope Lewis performs well. I hope Charles performs well. I hope Carlos performs well, and I have hope for Mercedes this week.
Well, if I think if the weather's bad, then Mercedes and if I haven't said it already, it's like 45% chance of rain. So
Mm,
it's not, but it also means cooler temperatures. So that means
right.
Mercedes should do better. But I don't know. I kind of hope for no rain just because I want. It's going to be interesting because in practice one and two today, and then tomorrow, of course, is three and qualifying. But it was hot today, so the
Hmm.
data they gained isn't going to be totally accurate because
Right.
it's going to be colder for sure. It might
Yes,
not be raining, but it's going to be colder. So
absolutely.
we'll see how everything shuffles out. But so far, I'm in love with the results we're getting from practice,
Hmm.
save for Lance Stroll. So.
Same.
All right.
All right.
Well, look forward to our review, guys, for
Yes.
the Silverstone, my favorite race. And then we've got a week off. And then I think we go to, oh, is it Spa? I think it's Spa.
Perfect.
Whatever. Yeah.
Great. We'll see you guys later next week.
All right. Happy 4th, by the way.
Yes. Happy 4th. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Bye.